I want to mention something. I'm going to talk about this briefly, and I'm going to talk about this more in depth later. And I was watching a video with Raymond Ibrahim, and he said something that was quite shocking, but if you look at it and you reflect on it, you know it's true. And Raymond Ibrahim was saying that he spent over a decade, years of his life, trying to convince the United States government to look seriously upon the threat of radical Islam and take really concrete measures against it. And it seems like, this is shocking, but I believe it's true, that the United States government is working to advance radical Islam and is working towards the genocide of the Coptic Christians of Egypt and the Assyrian Christians of Mesopotamia. It's unbelievable to think that the United States government would be doing that. But it is. Think about it objectively. They are, and it is. Why is the United States government trying to establish radical Islam over the Middle East and wipe out the Assyrian and Coptic Christian minorities, all the Christian minorities? Why are they doing that? So first we have to realize that Raymond Ibrahim is correct, that they are doing this, and then we have to look at why. And I think that the answer is pretty simple. And it is Saudi Arabia. And petrodollars. We have the Arab lobby, the Saudi lobby, and they're controlling our politicians to advance a radical Islamic agenda in the Middle East. It's happening. This fundamentally is why. And I'm going to talk about this very briefly. This is an important issue that has to be addressed. So stay tuned for today's program.
Jesus was an Aramaic-speaking Jew of the Middle East, and the Assyrians are Aramaic-speaking Christians in the Middle East who have endured persecution for over 1,000 years. Join Voice of the Word Aramaic Bible teacher, artist, and author Stephen Missick as he examines the Bible through the ancient languages, peoples, lands, cultures, and times in which it was first revealed. Research the Scriptures, rescue persecuted Christians, and restore the Church to its Semitic roots. And now, Voice of the Word.
So, the United States of America's policy towards the Middle East is to advance radical Islam, to marginalize moderate and reformed forces, and to eliminate the Christian minorities. It's like, well, that seems shocking. Why would America do that? America is doing this. It is doing this. So if you look at history the past 40 years, it's obvious. Now, let's go back to the Lebanese Civil War. Because what we have is we have our left-wing media. The media is pro-Islamic because the media is communist and they hate Christianity. They want to destroy it. And they think they can use Islam as a way to destroy Christianity. The liberals want to wipe out Christianity off the face of the world. They do. So let's look at this. So you have a civil war in Lebanon, and we have a civil war in Bosnia. Same thing, right? In Lebanon, you had a Christian majority Arab nation, but the demographics changed slightly, and you have a slight Muslim majority develops, and what happens? Civil war. The Muslims want to take over the entire government. Civil war, right? Bosnia, 1/3 of the population is Roman Catholic, 1/3 of the population is Serbian Orthodox, and 1/3 of the population is Islamic. What happens in any of these situations? The Muslims try to take over the government, create an Islamic state. In Lebanon, in Bosnia. So what does the media do? The media demonizes the Maronites, the largest and most important community. And I was just a child. I wasn't really engaged. I guess I was sort of aware. I was a kid. It's hard to understand all that's going on. I didn't really understand it. But I've gotten books. When I started studying Middle Eastern Christianity And yeah, this guy's name, was it Robert Fisk, something like that? All of the journalists were hostile. They supported Hezbollah. This is in the 80s. The left-wing media was hostile. Their reporting is anti-Maronite, anti-Lebanese Christian, pro-Shia, pro-Muslim. They were hostile to Christianity. Now, this is the Middle East. Bosnia, of course, is Eastern Europe. But yeah, the same situation. How does the media spin Bosnia? Oh, the Serbs are so bad. The Bosnian Muslims. Actually, they were deceiving people because you had the Bosnian Croats, the Bosnian Serbs, the Bosnian Muslims. They tried to fool people into thinking that the Serbs were foreign invaders, which they weren't. I mean, it's the Serbian people lived in. They're Bosnian Serbs. They've lived there before the Muslims got there. There were Serbs there. But the media's pushing a false narrative. When this is also in Kosovo. When Kosovo fell, the Muslims started slaughtering Christians and desecrating churches. Just, that didn't get reported. So, why is I mentioned why the left wing? So you have an Islamic and a so-called progressive alliance. So the liberals think they can work with the Muslims to destroy Christianity. So this is the 1970s and 80s, right? And of course, this is the 1990s. But I do want to focus on mostly on the Middle East. So when was it? It's around 1979. We had, the Iranian Ayatollah, the Iranian Islamist revolution. But around the same time, we have Afghanistan. So it's pretty obvious when you have the Ayatollah Khomeini that radical Islam represents a threat to the West and against Americans' national interest. I mean, it's apparent, right? And if you're looking at global affairs, then you have a brain, and these people are sold out to forces of evil, right? I'm just saying, if you're objectively looking at it, the United States should not be supporting radical Islamic forces especially when you have Iran. But we go into Afghanistan, and we have this movie. You see how this happens. Charlie Wilson's War. He's a Texan congressman, and there's a woman in Houston. She works with the Saudis. She's in the oil industry, and she's trying to buy off a corrupt politician. The Saudis, through her, are trying to buy off a corrupt politician to get America's support. And the CIA is involved in this too, right? They're using Charlie Wilson, the CIA, the Saudis, for America to support the Mujahideen. We created Al-Qaeda. The United States, Charlie Wilson, and the CIA. We support the Mujahideen, and we create Al-Qaeda. It's like, well, did that help America's national interest? Because that led to the World Trade Towers. None of this supports American national interest. It supports Saudi's national interest. We get attacked by Saudi Arabia on September 11, 2001. And what do? We go to war into Iraq, toppling secular Muslim leaders. I mean, he's a bad person, granted. So the Saudis are much worse than Saddam Hussein. They're monsters. But you have for that part of the world, Saddam Hussein, as bad as he is, he's not a jihadist. He's not into radical Islam. Of course, he is a Muslim, but he's a moderate Muslim, relatively a secularist, belongs to the non-Islamist Ba'athist party. They don't want a political system that's not Islamist. So the Saudis want us to get rid of Saddam Hussein for them, so they can create ISIS, create a Islamic theocracy. And so why is the United States doing it? I think this, we see how it works. Just watch the movie Charlie Wilson's War, read the book. You become aware of how this works. Saudi Arabia's baleful influence, and there's a lot of propaganda too, because Rambo 3. This is before 9/11. Rambo goes and joins Al Qaeda and fights against those dirty Soviets. So people couldn't really see all this going on. But there's some very, very dark forces at work. And like I said, everything that happens, all the war and carnage, terrorism, it benefits Saudi Arabia and its goals of conquering the world for Islam. Let's look at Somalia. I've talked about this before. Why did we go into Somalia? Why? Why did we go into Somalia? At the same time, you had southern Sudan and millions of Christians, I think 3 million. 3 million Christians killed for their faith by the Muslim warriors of Sudan. And this isn't even reported on. It's not even reported on. I got this article. I got to find what I did with it. But the Houston Chronicle is arguing that, you know, when the rare instances when they reported on the Southern Sudan war, it said we need to starve these people out. Because the Houston Chronicle said that the Christians of Southern Sudan need to submit to Muslim control. It'd be better for them if they just converted. We shouldn't feed them and starve them out, and that way the North. I mean, that's what the article said. It's written, published in the Houston Chronicle. Let's use food as a weapon, starve the Sudanese Christians out so they submit to Islam. I actually kept that article. I don't know where it is right now. I laminated it because it's just so appalling. They'd even conceive of printing something like that, but they did. So we go into Somalia because the Saudis want us to. And the media wants us to. And what do we get out of it? They murder our soldiers who are trying to feed them and help them, desecrate their bodies, drag them naked through the street, and then one of the things I just want to mention, Obama obviously, Obama's going to have a very pro-Islamic foreign policy, and Biden too, right? Because he's the puppet master. But even under the so-called Republicans, Cheney's I saw this interview with. To show the problem, Sean Hannity, this is years ago, Sean Hannity was interviewing Dick Cheney. And he asked him a question about the Muslim Brotherhood. Is the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization? Well, I wouldn't say that. There are certain groups that broke off from the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, they might be terrorists. I mean, George Stephanopoulos' sister advocating for Hamas. So we actually have liberals in the Republican Party and also in the Democrat Party advocating for terrorism. So what happens in Somalia? Well, we gave, through that, Minnesota is conquered by the Islamic. Now, there's a video of Tim Walz taking down the flag of Somalia and raising the new flag of misspeaking. So Tim Walz, who was they tried to make vice president, he takes down the flag of Minnesota. And the new flag is the flag of the Islamic Republic of Somalia. So the Somalian flag is now flying over Minnesota. Their congressmen and women, radical Muslims. So we're defeated in Somalia, and they conquer one of our states. We give them one of our states. We give them these terrorists representation in our Congress. And Ilhan Omar says that she's not really representing. And it's amazing. She speaks like she's got some kind of cognitive disability, but she speaks Somalian very well, or Somali, and she says it publicly. She's like, "I'm not a congressman for Minnesota. I'm a congresswoman for Somalia. I'm a congresswoman for Islam." She's very vocal about it. If you translate her speeches when she gives these terrorist extremist meetings that she has, so. This is what's going on, right? We see it, in Lebanon, Bosnia, the media in the United States government supporting radical Islam, Kosovo, Iraq, and another thing is Egypt. I attended a rally with Coptic Christians against the government of Morsi, but CNN. So you have this radical Islamist, and CNN is controlled by the CIA. Operation Mockingbird, and they were supporting the Muslim Brotherhood president, the jihadist President Morsi, and they were really upset when a secularist, moderate General Sisi was able to take over the government and bring peace and stability back to Egypt again. So CNN was overtly supporting a terrorist leader, Morsi, who was killing Christians in the street. So if you look at it objectively and look what's been going on the past 40 years, just look at Afghanistan. What did we accomplish there? It's worse off and more Islamically radical now than when we first went in there. We did nothing to encourage moderation or have a more freedom and tolerance in, it's this extremist hotbed. It's worse. And the other thing, I think Raymond Ibrahim was talking about this, how you should watch his videos, how you see these photographs, just like the class of 1955 in the American University in Cairo, right? All the male students are dressed up like Elvis. They got the Elvis hairstyle. The girls look like Priscilla Presley. And then here we have that's the class of 1955, and then you have the class of 2005, and all the girls are wearing burqas and hijabs, and all the guys have long beards and traditional Islamist attire. What happened? And Raymond Ibrahim is saying, actually, Western academics are encouraging that type of behavior. Don't disregard the Western tradition. Go back to your own. Go back and embrace the Islamist tradition. So this is a problem. So what do you do about it? I think that first we know what's happening, and Christians we need to know this is going on. This is our government. We need to stop it. The United States government is trying to eradicate Christianity in the Middle East. Another example, ISIS. Obama did nothing about ISIS. Supposedly criticized them. Actually, he would defend them. He goes to a prayer conference. You Christians need to get off your high horses and stop judging ISIS. After all, the Salem witch trials and the Crusades and blah, blah, blah. Obama is a Muslim. You need to deal with that. It's just some of the things he did and said. So under Obama, Biden, it's more overt, but we see it under Republican administrations as well. We have to open our eyes. It's incomprehensible this is going on, and this has been going on for decades. I mean, we see the corruption of our news media, but we have to open our eyes to it. And one of the things I was thinking about is how the Tucker Carlson's been bought out by the Qataris and the Saudi Arabians. He's actually, this shows the enemy in our gates, right? People on our side who have fallen to the enemy, who we thought were on our side. So Tucker Carlson, I think he's a Muslim. I think he's straight. I'm a Christian, but I love Islam. I'm a Christian, but I think the Muslim leaders are the greatest people in the world. I'm a Christian, but I love Sharia law. I love Sharia law. I love jihad. Woo. I love Hamas. And it's like, what happened to this guy? Probably got someone saying, well, he's already rich. It doesn't work that way. You're rich. They're consumed by greed. You can never have enough money. You think, well, he's already well-to-do. He wouldn't sell out for more money from the Saudis and the Qataris. People do. I mean, you're not rich. It's hard for you to conceive and understand that, but you see it all around you. If you have $1 million, you want $2 million. If you have $10 million, you want $100 million. They're just consumed by greed, and it's just what it is. So Tucker Carlson's, he's concerned about AIPAC. He's always complaining about AIPAC, which is the American Israeli Political Action Committee. He wants that to be, AIPAC should register as a foreign operation, and that it's representing foreign governments, and that all the people who are members of AIPAC should be, register as spies and all this. He's like, well, why does he want to do that? I guess because the Saudis feel threatened by AIPAC. They want to destroy Israel, and AIPAC is effective, I guess, at least on some level. I haven't really even really heard about AIPAC. And a lot of evangelical Christians support Israel. And I think recently, Governor Huckabee, who's now the Ambassador Huckabee in Israel, he was a pastor, preacher, and now he's engaging with Israel, and he's starting to see some of the problems, hostility towards Christianity among certain people in Israel. I'm not saying it represents all Israelis, but it's just a reality of something he's been having to address and speak against as ambassador. But like I said, I think that I don't want to be anti-Israel, anti-Semitic. And Israel has done certain things wrong I disagree with. Like right now, they're engaging in warfare against the Orthodox patriarchs, seizing their bank accounts. It's not good. lot of people don't know about these things, don't get a lot of reportage. And like these patriarchies have been there for 2,000 years. Israeli exists as a nation just for 70. I think they should respect the Christian population and not try to attack them through lawfare the way they are. But be that as it may, I was listening to the radio. My uncle listens to radio, and Christian radio, and there's just International Federation of Christians and Jews, and people on Christian radio advocating for even more support of Israel. And it's like, if that's what they want to do, it's a free country, they can do that, support Israel. But it's like, why don't Christians support Christians in the Middle East? Maybe we should have something like AIPAC, an organization, because obviously it's effective. Otherwise, Tucker Carlson wouldn't be trying to attack AIPAC, right? So why don't we have a, American Middle Eastern Christian Political Action Committee, so we can influence our government and bring attention to the matter of the dangers that Middle Eastern Christians face, and work to protect their rights, because nobody is really advocating for them. And the whatever advocacy there is, it's splintered into small groups, right? Why don't we have Christians unite to support Christianity in the Middle East and our interest in that region? It's kind of complicated, and the getting involved in the Middle Eastern and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict could create a lot of. We need to advocate moderation, and we should have peace and moderation. And I don't think it wouldn't help if you're overtly anti-Israel. That's going to impede what you can accomplish, right? So that's a very delicate situation. Sometimes you have to tread delicately, but we need to the American people, the policies that we have, the pro-Islamist, anti-Christian policies, it's the Saudi Arabians doing this. I'll close with this. There's this book I saw called The House of Saud and the House of Bush. And it showed King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia, and he's holding hands with President Bush, like President Bush is his little wench, his girlfriend. And it's very humiliating that President Bush would go over to Saudi Arabia and demean himself against this terrorist leader, King Abdullah, and humiliate, national humiliation. And the Democrats are like, look at Bush, look at how he's humiliating our country. He's running around with this Saudi Arabian king, a terrorist leader, and the Saudi Arabian king is holding Bush's hand and leading him around like he's the Saudi, and he is. He's the little bitch of the king of Saudi Arabia. That's who W. Bush was. And then, Obama becomes president, and so we have Bush running around holding hands, as if he's this guy's girlfriend, which he probably was on a certain level. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Bush probably did bend over and take it from the Saudi Arabia, at least metaphorically. After they kill so many people on September 11th, that's how he denigrates our country. And, humiliating our nation, the Republican Party, and a Democrat writes a book and puts that picture right in a disgrace, demeaning our country. Humiliating photograph. So national humiliation in front of the whole world. President W. Bush embarrasses our nation like that. Kowtowing to the Saudi Arabian terrorist leader. And then, the Democrats are like gloating in that. Look at this so-called Republican president, humiliating himself to the Saudi Arabian king. We'll put on a book to embarrass the Republicans, as Bush has embarrassed our nation with these actions. So then Obama becomes president, and what does he do? He pretty much he bowed down so low before. I mean, it's bad enough to go around holding hands. It's humiliating to our nation, but Obama pretty much lays down on the ground and prostrates himself before the King Abdullah. So Bush goes around like he's a little homo, queer boy, holding the hand of his master, the Saudi Arabian king. And then Obama just lays down and prostrates himself, pretty much laying flat in the ground in front of the Saudi Arabian King Abdullah. So this is happening. And of course, the Democrats don't put that in the cover of a book. That's even far more humiliating and desecrating what Obama did. Why did he do it? Because he's a Muslim. He's showing that America is submitting to this Islamic power. Look at what's going on in England right now. We got to address these issues, and we have to confront the reality. So Raymond Ibrahim is correct. He's right. I mean, everything we did in the global war on terror actually benefited Islam and the Saudi Arabian government. Rallied the troops to fight against the infidel. With ISIS, the Saudis were able to create large migrant hordes to overwhelm Europe. So this is happening. The Bible says, greater is he that's in us than he that's in the world, and we can overcome. The Bible also says, do not be ignorant of his devices. This is a satanic conspiracy. Knowledge is power. And Lao Tzu, art of war, know your enemy. To defeat your enemy, you have to know your enemy. And American people are oblivious. I remember I went to Egypt in 1991, probably around the September time. I come back and trying to tell people about the threat of radical Islam. They couldn't see it. They weren't interested. Didn't care. Thought it was crazy. And then 10 years later, oh, what's going on? What's going on? The Twin Towers fell. Ah! I've been trying to tell you guys for 10 years. But what good did it do? They're about to Obama's a gay Islamo-Marxist. And now they're about to elect a gay Mamdani? So you're going to have a Muslim, a man that wants to globalize the Intifada, globalize jihad. So 25 years after September 11th, the people of New York vote for a jihadi. It's happening. I wish it wasn't, but it's happening. I don't think they're going to win in the end, but they're winning right now, aren't they? They're winning on. So it's like, we've been caught like with our pants down or wherever, by these people. And it's time to gird up your loins and fight, metaphorically. I mean, if we fought correctly, I do believe in fighting the global war on terror and using our military resources. But what have we accomplished? We're not fighting it correctly. And we should avoid violence and fight with argumentation, the facts and the truth first before we have to resort to other means. We have to do it for peace and for the future of mankind. But the United States of America is, as a foreign policy, they're doing the Saudi Arabians' bidding. Why? Because write big checks from the Saudi Arabians. Why did Bush go and humiliate the nation? Why is he going around running around tiptoeing the tulips with the Saudi Arabian terrorist leader, King Abdullah? Why? Because he's bought and paid for and owned. The reason why he's going to interlock his fingers and just, Saudi Arabian king. Oh, there we go, Bush. There you go. Woo! I control you, President Bush. I own you. I am your master. You are my slave. That's why he's interlocking the fingers and squeezing. He owns Bush. Took his petrodollars. And Obama, in front of the whole world, in front of cameras, just lay down. Lay down in front of the Saudi Arabian king. I don't care if it's this Mohammed bin Sultan character, whatever his name is, Solomon. This is one of the Saudi Arabia is one of the most greatest evils. Represents this long legacy, 1,400 years history of the greatest evil that mankind has ever known. We have to confront it, and we have to open our eyes and see what's going on.